Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur, and in year 8, we're taking head-on two of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sananda Jai Seelan. Tonight, a conversation with Allcargo, where I spoke about the logistics market in depth. Do stay tuned. Thank you very much for your time here on the show, Mr. Shetty. Such a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. We do, masterclasses for entrepreneurs all the time, and you are the quintessential entrepreneur, moving to Mumbai many years ago with nothing but a dream and a very limited corpus to building Allcargo to what it is today. Right. What has that journey been like? And I want to start by talking about maybe one or two of the highlights. I know it's difficult to compress it really into that, but one or two of the highlights of your entrepreneurial journey.
No, I think, it's been a great journey, obviously fascinating, I would say. So 10 years later, my original dream to get into the main shipping business brought me to get started with Allcargo. So earlier company was called Trans India Freight Services Private Limited. So then eventually merged Trans India also into Allcargo. Allcargo, basically what we do is we consolidate LCL cargo into one single container going to a particular destination. To give an example, out of India, we load to about 50 different destinations every week, cargo going directly. And in some of the boxes, there are cargo belongs to different destinations, which we use hub and spoke methodology to distribute the cargo to the final destination. But the most important part of our journey has been, I can name a lot, but the main ones are building the global company from India through acquisitions. We acquired a European company with 120 offices. At that time, it was 5 times our size, employing almost another 5 times more employees than Allcargo employed. 120 offices, like I said, and using that company post turning it around. The company was in trouble, obviously. That is how we got it. We raised private equity money to buy that company, and then also went public within about 2 years. That was 2005. Late 2004, we got the private equity investment. We sold only 6% of the company, raised $12 million. And then use that money for acquisition of this European company.
Did you have good mentors along the way?
Yes and no. Not really any professional mentors, because my life was completely submerged into running the business. Reading and looking at how others have done it is the way I mentored myself. I don't have any, in that sense, a particular mentor to go and talk to or anything, but I think it's purely, the ideas which is emerged within you, and attending some of the conferences gives you a lot of idea. Going to some of the courses, small courses here and there, gave you a lot of ideas. And I think once you're a keen learner and a keen listener, there are a lot of lessons around you which we tend to ignore. And memorize them and analyze how you can use it for your purposes, your requirements.
I want to talk about the logistics in the cargo industry here in India. Every time one discusses what's going on in the logistics industry, the first word that perhaps comes to mind is how fragmented it is. I do want to start by talking about the opportunities. Multiple reports suggesting that perhaps 300 billion by 2020, that's in the next 1 year, is the kind of target the cargo and logistics industry can reach. Through this interview, if we can talk to our entrepreneurs to say, this is where you perhaps are seeing the biggest opportunities when it comes to this industry, what would that be?
I think even if you look at the developed markets, the logistic industry, even there is very fragmented. And logistic industry, the words sometimes get confused, right? The logistic industry, mainly because of multiple specializations in logistics. One has transportation, who owns trucks. Transportation, where you are only a broker. You are a consolidator. You are a shipping line operator. You are a freight forwarder or third-party logistics service provider. air freight service provider, rail operator. So there is various segments in logistics. That's how logistics sound even more fragmented, because everything gets converged into logistics, right? In this industry, it's very important for us to have foot on the ground.
Okay.
And there's a lot of connectivity issue, because since there are multiple stakeholders involved in the global transportation and supply chain. You have shipping lines, you have ports, you have customs, you have health inspectors, dangerous cargo inspectors, surveyors, stevedores, the various operators are transport companies. Various operators need to integrate their whole system.
Okay, so it sounds
for a seamless operation.
So it sounds not just fragmented but also complicated to some extent.
Yes.
Where are the opportunities? Where can an entrepreneur who's in this space then make money?
It's very, very difficult to build a scale in this business, because this industry has been, has been in existence last 50, 60 years more, right? Companies have already built large global organizations. In NVO space, there are only two main players who are global operators.
Okay.
One is our company, and there is another US company called Vanguard. These are two companies who are really able to build a global scale. So there is no room for a third or a fourth player to come to that unless they consolidate, unless they merge together.
If you were to pick one or two of these niche areas that you think will perhaps really pick up steam over the next maybe year or next 2 years for small businesses, what's your advice?
In the logistics space, one of the main growth engine what we are betting on is express transportation and third-party logistics. And the other segment could be e-commerce, the last mile, first mile delivery. And to add to that, there is an opportunity also in the cold chain logistics. Right? These are the broadly within the domestic market. I'm talking purely domestic market because India is an economy which is growing. Okay, now there is a bit of a slowdown, but I think in the long run, India is likely to grow. And we have such a huge population, young population. Consumption is Indians are very aspiring to have a better quality of life. So the consumption-led growth in India is what we are all expecting. That's why all of us are making investments.
I do want to talk about the role of the GST as well. I know you're a big proponent in terms of saying that it has eased a lot of issues in the logistics and the transportation space. Anything more that you would like to see though when it comes to government regulation and policy for the logistics and cargo space?
I think government has done fair bit to the segment. I think one of the biggest bottleneck even today is about the infrastructure. I think if India is able to execute the vision of investing $1.5 trillion, which our finance minister's government has recently announced, if they're able to execute that, I think that will be a game changer.
You were talking about e-commerce previously. I just want to come back to that and talk about increasing competition when it comes to the domestic market. One, how do you as a company view the attention and interest, if I can really call it that you're seeing from a lot of global e-commerce players in the domestic market, and therefore Indian companies which are also gaining scale and saying that perhaps they're going to be doing their own logistics and cargo at their end. How are you viewing competition? How should a small business, take on this kind of competition in their own home country?
I think in the domestic market, one of the main activity in logistics is transportation and cargo handling, correct? The domestic transportation and cargo handling will have to be 90% will have to be done by the companies who own trucks. The Amazons and the Flipkarts are not going to buy trucks. They're always going to outsource that. So I think the trucking operation need to become far more efficient.
Sure.
And I think also for the country to become efficient and for our industry, there has to be a lot of cargo that should move by Indian coast and by the railways and also by the inland waterways. So the mix of the cargo movement, today it is a lot more on the road side. The road carries more than 60% of the domestic cargo movement, right? And that equation need to change to something like 30-35% by road, 25-30% by rail, and the rest should be by water.
Okay.
So that mix will also create a lot of opportunity for the new entrepreneurs.
So trucking is definitely, and you were talking about trucking,
Yeah.
has seen a lot of digitization.
Yes.
So what is the specific opportunity that you think digitization will create in the logistics and cargo industry that a small business, a startup, an MSME, SME can really look at targeting?
No, I think they can really have to find a way how the trucks can be far more efficiently utilized.
Okay.
Using the technology, how they can eliminate wastages. Like the one thing known in the trucking industry is pilferage of fuel, right?
Okay.
So with the new technology of having sensors and various other electronic tools which are available for you to control,
Sure.
and to avoid the pilferage of fuel, you save a lot of money on that.
Sure.
And then if you have a double driver and a relay system, right? So then your efficiency of the truck, it gets better.
Okay.
GST has already contributed big time for the vehicles to be more efficient.
We've been talking all along about the opportunity in the domestic market. I do quickly also want to talk about, from your experience, given your global footprint, the opportunities that an India-based cargo logistics company can perhaps tap into when it comes to the global markets.
Yeah, I think Indian companies must increasingly looking beyond India, right? Yes, when you look beyond India, you then have to have a different mindset, right? So you got to have a mindset of building systems and processes, financial discipline, having top-class professionals, professional team, systems and processes. So that needs a very different thing as an entrepreneur one need to carry together. Obviously, when you go international, you are going to deal with large global multinational companies or mid-sized companies where they want your vendor to talk their language, sure. Right? So, but it's all doable. You learn along the way. You don't have to be fully prepared for it, but you should be a quick learner. And if you look at the German companies or American companies or British company, their markets are so small, so they had no choice but to go out to sell their products or services,
sure.
Their innovations, right? Obviously, the other very important thing is the innovation. Internally, innovation is not necessarily scientific related. Innovation could be how you can be more efficient as an organization, how you can acquire customers with the minimum cost, sure. and faster turnaround of your cargo. So those kind of innovations can happen internally, right? So I think your organization need to promote a lot of innovations internally. And I think as Indian company, you can do it. I mean, if I have been able to do it, I'm sure many others can do it. I think it needs the ambition, needs the courage, and needs the drive, and financial and other, other components that is required to build a global organization. And I would really encourage the small and medium enterprises to think hard and look at opportunities beyond your immediate geography.
As we're running out of time on this interview, I do want to talk about some of the things that you are passionate about. And one of that is the multiple CSR activities, if I can call it that, that you're passionate about. One of which is giving back to the environment. You also look very closely at education and women's empowerment. Why for you, and why according to you is it important for business leaders like yourself to be involved in giving back and to be, sort of publicly talking about what it is you're doing?
Yeah, I think first of all, I've been grown up in an environment where we've been brought up with a lot of love, dedication, and my father was very helpful as a person to the community. So I saw all these things at a very young age. And we also as a family stuck together, cousins and brothers and sisters, we're all extremely close to each other. And personally, I myself has been always believed in helping and giving from a very young days. I'm always very much connected to some of my friends who I have not forgotten, people who helped me. I'm very grateful for what people have done. And I love nature, and that comes naturally to do anything related to environment and cleanliness. And I think it's very important, end of the day, what's the use of money unless you spend it? What you leave behind is going to be spent by somebody else. So in your lifetime, you spend as much in the right things, right? So I believe in that quite a bit. And CSR became more formalized in the last few years, but we in the company have always been helping the community who we come across from time to time, who needs help, right? And particularly in the areas where we operate, there is so much of poverty and so much of deprivation, and we build a community around that. So that also helps us in terms of the goodwill that you build in the area where you operate. So I think these are the main drivers. I'm very passionate about it, and I always believe in having a quality life. I also believe in having minimum litigation, minimum tax issues in your organization or personally. I like things are systematically done in the organization, so that you hit. I don't like surprises, so I try to safeguard whatever best I can in that context here.
Okay. Very quickly, I do also want to touch upon the fact that your family is involved in your business as well. Most of the entrepreneurs we speak to, most small businesses across the world, in fact, are family owned and family run. What lessons have you learned working closely with family? What lessons would you like to give our viewers?
Yeah, I think in family, it's very important that you tell your family member, or not necessarily tell, organize in such a way that each one of them know what they are responsible for. Sure. And the relationship within the organization is like of a professional, right? Each one are given a responsibility and they're responsible for it. Outside the office, you're really a family member. But what also happens is I'm been blessed with family members who are very dedicated, extremely hardworking, and follow the value system of what we set within the organization. So I have no real challenges. I think it's the end of the day how you mold your family members also in the organization. Yeah. And I always create an environment where the family members and professionals work together. So when the responsibility is properly articulated, then everything starts working in tandem, because it's a teamwork end of the day, right? Not one person can do everything. You need people, you need to have that culture in the organization of team spirit. I also believe that setting a good culture in the organization is the only way you can sustain any organization, right? So sustainability is very important for me. I always build those safeguards, so the company survives beyond me. That's how it is. Yeah.
My last question to you, Mr. Shetty. One thing you perhaps want to leave our viewers with by way of advice?
Yeah, I think most important thing is do the right thing. I think listen to your inner voice and look at the future, make investment for the future. No business is stable. Business always goes through a cycle, ups and downs. Sure. So one has to think about how do you ride those waves, right? And how do you make sure that you have a great reputation? People underestimate the value of a reputation, perception. Sure. Right? The reputation, the perception is very, very important. That helps in your favor with customers, with your staff, with your vendors. It builds that ecosystem. And the other piece of advice is don't become overly ambitious. Be ambitious, but don't become greedy. Okay. Right? So the greed drives you into doing wrong things, and also in terms of financial mismanagement, and that's what takes companies down. Okay. So
it's been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
Shashi Kiran Shetty, thank you very much for your time here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have any feedback for us, our contact details coming up on your screens in just a moment. Just stay tuned. As we're ending tonight's show, we are very excited to bring to you our partnership with ORDUP, the most trusted name when it comes to anything to do with the startup ecosystem. Tonight, our startup in focus is Ola Electric, which is located in Bengaluru and was founded in 2017. This startup's total funding raised is $306 million with a market valuation of $1.67 billion. Let's take a closer look at funding details. Ola Electric raised $56.3 million in Series A and $250 million in Series B funding. That's a wrap of our Startup Monitor for this week. We will continue to bring you the most in-depth content on the startup space right here on Leaders of Tomorrow.